Okay, well, on with the show. I would like to introduce you today. I am actually really excited to introduce you today to Anna Pereira. She is a transformative leader, visionary entrepreneur, #1 best-selling author, renowned for her impactful self-care series, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care. She is the founder and guiding force behind the Wellness Universe, which is a dynamic platform established in 2014, brought to life in 2015, and really is a vibrant organization of dedicated practitioners who passionately believe that happy, healthy, and healed humans are foundational to fostering global peace and well-being. So by all that, you should all realize that we are on the same team. We really believe that the more we all come together, the better it is for all of us here in this holistic environment, but also for expanding and reaching out to new people to bring them in to what is possible. Also, Anna is the founder of SoulTreat Retreats, and she is here to share with us her top tips for planning successful retreats and events. With that, Anna, take it away.
Thank you so much, Camille. What a lovely introduction. Again, I want to say thank you, everybody who joined us and whoever's logging in to watch the recording. I'm still available to answer any questions after the fact. Camille, you said it best. And I think what's your driving force is the same as my driving force. You're a leader of a community. I'm a leader of a community. You are into wellness and, getting behind those people who really make a difference in the world and cheering them on and leading them into their greatest platforms and opportunities and engagements where they're really making a difference in the world. And that's totally what I'm about. When I created the Wellness Universe, I created it not because I was a coach, not because I did anything specific, but I'm that visionary who sees a need and sees a resolution. And then I am the creative person who can bridge that gap. Or being able to identify it before they even identify it. And so that's what's made me so happy in what I do, because I am bringing the light out of the people who have that light to shine and bringing it to those who need it. And in-person events, retreats, gathering the community, the process of the creation of those collaborations light me up like nothing else, because we feel valued. We feel we're putting into a project. We are all on the same page. We're collaborating, and nothing is more fulfilling than collaborating with other people who are on the same page, are aligned with the vision, aligned with the mission, and aligned with the goal. Now, the other side of that is collaborating with people that you're dragging along. So this is a couple of things that we're going to address today. How do you feel about that, Camille?
Oh, uh, so just getting right in the present with where we are. Just brought somebody new on the team. Already it feels like things are lightening up. Little bit of a weight has been taken off of my shoulders, right? Uh, who you have on your team is it's critical. It's just it's one of those keys to making it all work much more effectively, but joyfully as well.
And you brought up a really good point, which I was probably going to bring up later, but collaborators are not only the people who are bringing content and bringing value to the experience, but they are the people who are on your internal team. They are the people that you partner with. They're, everyone who's part of the ecosystem is a collaborator with you, is a partner with you. So it's not just if like you're bringing on like two other energy workers and you're creating, a dynamic space to do a retreat where you're bringing people for them to do their healing at, and there's three of you who are actually leading workshops. It's everyone else. It's everyone behind the scenes. It's your social media team. It's everyone. They're all your collaborators.
Yeah, I agree. And we've all had also somebody who has shown up to an event or a program, a custom, who would be considered a customer, who is also, well, needs more healing. Let's say that, right? Shows up and like, oh, this person, Um, and it's good to have them there for the healing, right? But it does impact the rest of the dynamic.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to your tips. Tell me
Sure.
more. Tell us
So
more.
foundationally, just like you have laid the foundation for your business, there's a structure behind it. There's a culture that you lead with. And in the wellness universe, it's the same. When our members are part of the wellness universe, they become part of the culture. And the more collaborative minded they are and the more adapted they are to the culture, the more success everyone is going to feel because let's face it, a lot of us who are in this industry of being a practitioner or provider of wellness and well-being are mostly lone wolf, and we feel that sense of responsibility. Like we have to do it all because we don't have other people, and it's almost like you get used to that, and it's kind of tough to break out of that mindset. While others want to just be the leader and be seen as that, I'm the leader, I'm the one who makes the decisions. This is my modality. So both of those, it's very difficult to work with. You have to find the people that have some experience, some they have skin in the game, absolutely, but they have done their work. They have done their work they've done something a few times. They know what it is to show up, what it is to be in the role of co-facilitator or collaborator as well as leader, because they're going to be wearing both hats when they're working with you on something major, because they have to have self-leadership in order to embody and enroll what they're doing and, be motivated enough to take on all the things like the book projects. Camille, we know all about that. You know what I mean? And when we involve people in projects with us, these are all the things that we have to look at. So that's the first thing in my book, is that when we're running our events, they have to be members of the Wellness Universe, and people don't seem to understand why. And I'm like, look, I've spoken on stages for Forbes, for universities, and I've gone and I've been just the tool. I've shown up and I've spoken and I've given my wisdom, and then I leave. I'm not connected to anyone. I don't feel a sense of family. I don't feel even a sense of responsibility only unto my message because who's behind me. Whereas we create the container for everyone to have that sense of ownership, yet they're responsible to each other for what they're bringing. And it's a collective experience. So for me, that's one of the foundational things that you do have to create within, if it's just a project or a retreat, you have to create that culture. You have to create that sense of responsibility. Everyone has to be aligned on the mission and the vision and the goals. They're not just there to show up to speak, because those people you're going to have problems with. You have to have the way to bring them together where everyone sees the project from the bird's eye view and then can understand their role within it. So that number one is foundational for me when I'm creating my events. And that's why it's so important for us that people have to be a member of the Wellness Universe and be really integrated. And I'm really happy that, for example, Jean is here as one of our senior partners, and also an independent business owner and a lead author on book projects, and so she has all of this experience, and she also has seen the value in saying, I really want to be a bigger part of the wellness universe because of the way you do things. So, with that said, I think that is the first step, aside from having like the idea of what it is that you want to create as far as the event, the retreat, the virtual or in person. You have to have some sort of idea around what's your culture, what are your values, what are you looking for? Because if you say, hey, I'm looking for speakers, you have a great idea for a retreat and I want speakers, you're going to attract people. Of course, people are going to want to be, aligned with you and they want to present. But if you don't have that foundational culture built out and an aligned vision that they can say, yes, I'm aligned with this, then it's going to be a little bit challenging because people are all around, talented people are all around us. You'll vouch for that, Camille. But it's a matter of it being a fit. It's a fit, not that they can't do it, or it's just a fit for you and your project. So
Well,
that's number one.
I'm just gonna sort of interrupt. Uh, I'll take that a step further. That big picture view for your team. Because if everybody is all pitch all the time, that is not going to be any fun for your attendees. They are not there to hear all pitch all the time. So the people you have on your leadership team, you want them to also have that bigger picture. There's a time to pitch, yeah, we're in business, but there's also a time to listen. There's a time to participate as part of the group. Uh, so, and yeah, membership matters. That's a lot how groups like ours and yours do what we do. So, um, that's a good foundation.
Yeah, I think it's important. Defining your values, creating a culture, having an aligned vision and seeing, who's really part of that is really important. So I'm gonna I'm gonna start with a couple of things that I have written down, so I try not to deviate too much because I can be a big talker, if you can't tell by now. So for example, when you're designing the actual project of the retreat, of the collaborative event, defining who it's for, what they're walking in with, and what they're walking out with is obviously really important. So these are all the things that you need to have down and be very clear on. So when you are inviting collaborators in, they get it. It's not just like, oh, we're doing this thing and it's happening here. So you have to have that down. And then the secret sauce of a collaboration. This is something that I put down and I wanted to share. Um, that a retreat is a living ecosystem. It's not just an event or a one-off thing. And when you do work with collaborators, now that you've evaluated them and you see that they're aligned with your mission, vision, and goals for the project and overall, um, the benefits are the capacity. You're not carrying everything alone. You're able to, share it. Depth, the more expertise, the more perspective. So you're also not responsible for all of the content yourself and all of the transformation that has to happen. It's a collective. Safety, so you create more safety for your guests. And also, of course, you're going to reach more people. So you're going to have shared audience and shared credibility. And that's always, always great. Um, and then so basically the boundary line here is you hold the container and collaborators elevate the experience inside the container. So I would just like to know, ask you all who are present, because I didn't even really ask you. I mean, Bob said that he does do retreats and events, but are you here because you're doing retreats or want to do retreats, or you're just learning about this and considering it? I'd love to hear from anybody who's live with us.
Well, I'll share from our experience because we have done those uh, larger conferences. So we didn't call them retreats, um, though frankly, I think that would have been a nice framework for them. Um, and they are they're different than what we're doing. So, so we don't, it's like we don't have an annual, right? Um, because what we're really doing is those smaller group meetings, in the local groups all over where they get started, and also then here online because so many of us are all over the place these days. Um, so I'm here because I'm leading this group, but I'm also here because I think it would be good for us to, learn tips from somebody who's really you're doing those larger events more often than we are. And you clearly have things that we can learn from. And in person is different than online. Got that. And also hybrid, which for anybody who cares, I don't do, I don't run hybrid events. I will attend them, but I don't. Uh, okay. Who
They're a lot
wants
of
to know
work.
what I think? Ugh. No, hi. And
It's a
then
lot of
we,
additional work. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
it is. And then, no, there's just a comment in here from Sandy that she is learning and considering, which, by the way, is a really smart way to do these things, right? Is to learn before you fully jump in.
So, Colleen, did you have something to say a second ago?
I was just going to comment, pretty much the same as Sandy. I've attended a couple of retreats in person, but just looking to learn, more, and considering putting one on myself in person.
Okay. Bob, what did you want to pour into the conversation?
Yeah, so I'm kind of getting used to the term retreat because I honestly didn't really think of the work that I did over the years as retreats, largely because I wanted to send people home more tired than when they showed up, meaning that I wanted to just give everything that I could and make use of every second of the time in programming. And, I'm re-evaluating that to make it more of a uh going home with more energy and more relaxation from the experience. So just, rethinking what it is. A lot of the work that I've done over the years was travel based. Now I'm looking at the place as important, but having more individual time for people to experience that place on their own and integrate it with the activities that we do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And like we use the word retreat for soul treat. But again, it's not this deep, heavy retreat time. It is uplifting. We have tears, we have hugs, we have laughs, and then we have the releasing of, trauma and, I mean, and for us it's a whole thing. And people can really get involved with what they want to, and then, stay out of the things that they don't want to participate in. It's really up to them. The facility that we're doing it at this time is the Art of Living Retreat Center in Boone, North Carolina, for example. So people can go back to their room because they're staying on premises. It's very flexible from that perspective. But I hear you on retreat because some people have a very rigid idea of what retreat is. And ours is much more uplifting than the standard. And you don't have to be like level 5 spiritual person in order to come to SoulTreat. So we're very inclusive. And that's another thing too I wanted to point out is, being as inclusive as possible while honing in on the people that you do obviously want to serve. Very, very important. But I hear you on this. And this is where I was in the beginning. I was like, give them the most bang for their buck, like fill as much much content into the day because they'll feel it's more value added to their, their ticket cost. And that's not necessarily true. It's more about the overall experience. And like you said, like, leave them, they'll leave going home tired because they've done so much. But, the integration and the opportunity to, take the time to enjoy the premises if you're at a location that you have that, I think those are important points that you brought up and considerations because sometimes, we want to give the most of us, as much of us, and that's not necessarily the right mathematical equation to make something value-based or valuable.
That's really true.
Yeah, I have to agree with that because I was recently looking at a trip that a gal I know is putting on to Egypt, and it's a 14-day. They do trips to Peru, and now they're bringing in Egypt. And it was it was 14 days, obviously, because we live in the U.S., so that's a pretty good jaunt, to get over there. And I was excited because I've wanted to go to Egypt for a long time. But when I sat and meditated and felt into the energy, it was too chaotic. They'd crammed too much in. And I was like, okay, I want to go to Egypt, but I will not enjoy that particular trip. So that was kind of interesting. So yeah, it makes sense that you have to kind of find this balance of not doing too much, but allowing some time too.
Yeah, and Colleen, I hear you on that. And Egypt is a far is far to go to. I've been there too. I've actually spoken in Egypt. But what you're saying is true, and why also here's just one of my tips. I love the way that we design Soul Trip because people can literally just take one workshop in the morning and like that's it. It doesn't have to lead to the next thing to the next thing. Whereas some people who develop their own, you're supposed to go through the entire process. So the good thing is that flexibility and allowing those people who are part of your retreat to know it's okay and it's flexible enough for you to involve yourself in what's calling you. And then there are the people that wish they could do all the things all at the same time, and we're catering, for example, to more of the people who want something a little bit more of a practical or a workshop talk. And then the other track is more of movement based or the experience of a sound healing. So we give like the two. One is more experiential with movement or what you're being exposed to, like a sound bath. And then the other one is more like auditorium seats are going to be set up. You're in a workshop. Obviously, there'll be some, activity in there, but it's more of like, you don't have to be a deep participant in something. You could be the recipient of what the content is in the structure of the other track. So we've developed this to be super flexible. And again, if you're a solo practitioner and you're doing something on your own, and you're looking to have like 2 or 3 people to design something with you, allowing that flexibility where it's going to hit your goal, where people are going to get the transformation, but you let people know like what can they do when, that they don't have to do this and then this and then this. And these days, to be honest with you, people are so overwhelmed. And again, even like Colleen, to your point, who has 2 weeks they can really take off from life? It's very difficult for people to have the flexible income, the flexible time. And we're in places and spaces where we are, we're caregivers or we're in our own business. It's difficult, you know what I mean? So you got to work with all of these things when you're creating something dynamic, impactful, that's going to move the needle. And again, it comes down to you and your collaborators being of the same vision and mission, mindset and goal. Because if they're sitting in on Bob, your workshop, or they're sitting in on Colleen's workshop, or they're sitting in on Jean's workshop, they're going to walk away with the feeling of, wow, Soul Treat was amazing. And I met Bob, or I met Colleen, or I met Jean, or I met Sandy. And it's almost like going to a chain restaurant. Like if I go to Fridays over here in New Jersey, and if I go to Fridays in Rio, Brazil, it's got to be the same thing. It has to be the same experience. So it's the feeling that you walk away with of being fulfilled and it met your expectation. That's what people have to walk away with. So the flexibility of them being able to do, and involve themselves, I think is important in these days, in these times. And then everybody, all the practitioners or your collaborators who are delivering content, to make sure they're on the same page with the way that they're delivering the content, the way they make people feel, and the inclusivity and things like that. That no matter who they engage with, they'll remember you for what you've given them, for sure, hands down. But they'll also remember it as the experience and what that brand that you're creating around this retreat or event is delivering. And they'll expect that each time you do this. I have people saying, "Oh my God, Soul Treat is amazing." They haven't even checked out who's going to be presenting at this one. And they say Soul Treat is amazing because the brand and the experience of Soul Treat that they've come to in the past has created the expectation. So that's just a couple of, things to noodle on as well.
I think that really brings up a couple of different highlights. One is know your audience. Who is on your email list? Who are your social media connections? Who are the people who, when you say I'm hosting this retreat, are going to see it and go, I want to attend, right? Who are those people? And design a retreat with those people in mind, right? Some people really want those flexibility of choices, flexibility of how I spend my time, and some others are all in on that deep dive, serious, right? Like we go to transformational retreats for different purposes. Just the world has 8 billion people. We've got a lot of different preferences. So consider who your audience is. Consider who is most likely to say yes to this retreat. And then, what is their travel ability? What is their time available? Are they only available for a half-day retreat, for a 3-day retreat, for a 1-week retreat? I'm with you. 2 weeks is that's a long, and I do get when you are going on a long trip, the temptation is to say, I have to do it all. I'm only going to be there. But certainly when you are the one who is hosting and leading and producing, you should consider who is most likely to attend. What are they going to say yes to? Because I think the game is, we want them to say yes. And then the other choice is, how big do you want? Do you want it to be an exclusive, intimate, small group event? There are some people who that is really what they want, and others really want that larger, give me a big, we don't all go to Coachella,
Yeah.
right? Anyways,
Yeah, no, and these are all great, things to evaluate and assess in the planning of. So I wanted to just there's a couple of points also I wanted to bring to your attention in order when you're picking your collaborators. So we've already kind of glaze over a couple things. So you want to make sure your values are aligned. Super important. Now, we can all come from different belief systems, different backgrounds, different cultures, but the values have to be aligned. And we see this conversation in daily life when we're having one conversation, another person having another conversation, and then you think that you're talking about the same thing, and in the end, your values are completely off, and then it totally tanks. So value alignment is really important. And reliability. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with, and cat herding will exhaust you, take the wind out of your sails, and have such an impact on your leadership. And you'll be in burnout trying to get with the people that are your collaborators to get them to fulfill what they're supposed to be doing. So reliability is really important. And actually, one of the things when I leave LinkedIn reviews for people, and actually I was doing that this morning for a couple of our members, I make sure to note, if you choose to work with this person, they expect them to be professional, polished, communicative. Like, I actually, to me as a leader and as a program developer, that's huge to me. And anyone who works with people, Camille, you know what I'm talking about? Book projects, everything else, it will drain you if somebody's not reliable and missing deadlines. So that's something really important and critical to vet as well. And then another thing is role clarity. A lot of times we throw so much at people for the wellness universe. Some people love it. They can't wait to be on the interview with Laura, the interview with Claudia, the summit, them teaching their own program, but other people are like, whoa, this is way more than writing a chapter. This is more than I expected that I had to show up for. So role clarity is super important for the success and not burning your people out, you not getting burnt out, and for the project to evolve into what you anticipate and your vision. So I have a couple of roles here, by the way, for you to consider. It's just like doing a budget. You have to also have your roles clarified, because just like your budget, if you don't have that budget set, you're in for a whole world of hurt if you don't really know what it's going to cost you to do something. So experienced provider and workshop leader, co-facilitator and space holder, operations lead and retreat coordinator, vendor and or sponsor liaison, guest care and check-in support, marketing partner and affiliate partner. These are all people that would be the roles of your collaborators to run a successful event, and for you to also feel like you can breathe through this, because you'll be surprised at how much work is ahead of you once you open up this Pandora's box. Again, it's so rewarding. It is so rewarding, but sometimes it could be a challenge going through the process. Camille, I would love to hear what you have to say about that as I see you bobbing your head up and down.
I think that sometimes we don't pay enough attention to the different roles that are important to bringing your project to life, bringing your retreat to life, bringing your business to not just sustainability, but profitability. And a a retreat it's a business, by the way. It might be under the umbrella of your full business, but you could look at a retreat as a little subset business, part of your business. Um, so that's really, I wanted to fully agree with that, but also numbers matter, by the way. We are a holistic chamber of commerce. That doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to the numbers, the financial aspect of what we're doing. We recognize that there's more to it than just the money. But I'm sorry, I live here on Earth. Frankly, I'm based in California. Okay, money matters. And okay, sorry, just have to say this. If you have ever known a woman or a partner who is living in a not good relationship, how often have you heard it's about the money of it, right? So we're not here to say you can do this all without living in reality. We are here, and this is what I was really nodding my head yes to, right? Is Anna is right on it, right? It is pay attention to the money and also pay attention to the team and the roles that are key aspects of pulling it all off and pulling it all off in a way that is going to make a difference for the people who show up attending. So,
Yeah. Thank you. And I just want to read, Jean has put a couple of comments. I'm sorry we didn't read these, Jean, but she says, I love how you're planning the retreat with the freedom to choose from a wide variety of events and supporting the vision of collaborators, speakers, and vendors. Yes. And yes, great tips about finding key people and paying attention to the money. Thank you, Camille and Anna. Well, thank you for those comments, Jean. So the other point that I wanted to make was the alignment and the agreements that you need to have in place. So the vision and intention of the retreat obviously has to be really well defined, clear, and where everybody understands it. The audience and sensitivity, who is this really for? And we've already kind of touched on that. The tone of the container, gentle, high energy, spiritual, science-based, etc. And I basically told you when you come to like a soul treat, it's more of an uplifting feeling. We're not in deep retreat like we're Buddhist monks. And then there's non-negotiables, the integrity, the timing, confidentiality, inclusivity, and safety. And communication rhythm. So when you're working with your collaborators, how are you communicating with them? Weekly check-ins, deadlines, a single thread, etc. We have a WhatsApp group to try to cut down on the emails. We have meetings set up. When it's a book collaboration, we do weekly meetings with our authors. It's really important that you at least, even if half of the people show up, you create the container to bring yourselves together more and more so everyone's really clear and they have the opportunities to get more clarity if they need. We have different learning styles. We have different obligations and commitments in life, and we have different goals for ourselves personally and in our business. And all of that shows up when people are bringing themselves as their practitioner self to an event. This is not like, here, I'm training you to run a register at Walmart, folks, and you're doing a task. These people are bringing their full on selves to your event and to your ecosystem and container you're creating. So all of these are really important to think about and to consider. And again, also when things go sideways, when something happens to somebody, like, gosh, I remember Carrie Hopkins Dowd. She was in the second book that we did. And sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. Her husband passed away like right when her chapter was due. And if we were clearly just looking at this as a project and deadlines, it could go really bad. And of course, she's part of my community. She's in my heart. So I'm like, Carrie, just take the time that you need. Of course, this is the ultimate deadline for the whole project, but we will definitely, be here for you and whatever else you need. So know that when you're working with people, they're people, and you need to have that flexibility, but you also have to have your boundaries and your guardrails and your guidelines around your project because it's that balance. It's that balance. And that's also why we're so successful and everybody can count on each other because now they can trust each other who are part of the collaboration to do other projects together because they know how people have shown up. And that's a beautiful side benefit of doing collaborations with people that have a level of excellence. So then the agreement, for example, I have like a 17-page speaker or participant agreement that I have our speaker sign. So everyone is clearly on the same page. It's in black and white. I like having that. I'm not going to say, like, even when I bought a car, I didn't read all the fine print of all the stuff they had me sign. So you don't know, people are actually reading every page. We do have them initial all the pages and things like that. But you also want to have something like this in place for your collaborators. And also you want to make sure that you have everything that you need to buttoned up to do the event, like the repurposing of the content that people are going to be photographed. So you have, a release form that people are, and also, Camille, to your point about streaming, I struggled with this, it being fusion, because I want people to have that space. Not that it's like this deep cracking open but it can be, and we want to allow people the space for it. So I didn't want to do the video streaming hybrid. It's either you show up at SoulTreat or you miss it, and that's kind of how it is. And you're going to get clips of things and have an idea of what goes on. And also for my collaborators, we do capture videos for them to have social proof, and for their marketing materials and their speaker, and their media kits and everything else. But we're not doing where people can, participate in a full virtual experience of the live event. We do um, we do uh, we do nicely with virtual events before the sessions. So we do a virtual event to actually
Oh,
promote the event, but it helps feature the speakers. And so there is a virtual event option, but not SoulTreat experience. So people can get the taste of it. So I just a couple things to keep in your agreement are the deliverables and the timeline, compensation or exchange, recording permissions, cancellation expectations, brand usage, names, logos, and promotions, and decision rights. Who decides what and when? And it's really funny little story around that. Way in the beginning of the wellness universe, people were excited because it's when you're like launching something and you have early adopters and everyone's so excited, right? We had people like using our logo and like making t-shirts out of it. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, you can't just because they were just so happy and proud that they took the logo and they thought they were doing something good. I'm like, no, you can't do that. So you have to have these things in writing and really clearly defined, because some people with all their good intention are crossing boundaries that they don't really realize sometimes. They think they're doing promotion for you, but there's lines. And Camille, as you know, like with the books, for example, there are lines with content, with everything else. When you work with a publisher, and we as the coordinators, that's a lot for us to sort out. So I love ChatGPT and I cross-reference it with legal, standards and procedures. And I make sure that what I put out there is sound and covering me. And honestly, folks, I've only gotten here because of the mistakes I've learned and the heartaches and the financials that it cost me. So I'm just sharing all this because it really is important stuff, and not just like, oh my gosh, that's way too much stuff for me to worry about. I don't need to worry, or I don't need to worry about that because I'm working with this person. Things can switch on a dime with any relationship, so it's always important to have those agreements and the contracts in place. Camille, do you have anything to say on that?
I love that list of items that you need to address in your contracts. Um, I would not add just one item for anyone who is hosting a coaching or healing specific retreat, and that is recognizing that you are asking people for potentially for deep healing. And I think there are times when you should, for attendees, have a confidentiality clause. What happens here stays here. Because if part of the intention is for people to heal some of those deeper hurts and traumas, we have to recognize that that is part of the safe space. And that's not just for your co-leaders, that is also for the people who are showing up. Now, so this is an interesting balance for the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, because we're a chamber of commerce. So I'm here to promote all of our members. And I recognize that every once in a while, I'll speak to myself, every once in a while, I'm in a meeting of some sort and somebody says something that triggers me, right? I'm like, oh, you know, and I want to feel like I'm also in a safe space, that when I discover a new button, right, I don't have anybody in the room who's go, oh my God, Camille's got this. I'm just as human as anybody else. I'm happily surrounded by holistic healers, so that does help me along the way. But yeah, that list of all the things to cover, very helpful. And just consider though, if you are doing deep healing processes that you want to protect the safety and confidentiality of that process for the people who are there.
Absolutely. And that's a really great point that you brought up and to bring our attention to. Thank you, Camille. So, um, that's really like the meat of the things that I think that we should all be considering, addressing, looking at, making sure that we're kind of shoring up the gaps on, aside, because I don't even want to get into like marketing and all this other stuff. Because yeah,
That's a
forget it. It's a
whole
whole
other
other thing. Yeah, that's
marketing, your
99%.
whole different topic. But I want to let you know, somebody just sent me a flyer, emailed me a flyer. Oh my God, I got to make a post about this. Somebody emailed me a flyer for what is clearly an in-person event. It did not have the address. The address was not on the flyer and it was not in the email, but it was clearly an in-person event. So if you, so again, marketing, whole different topic, and even something as simple as that, like I'm like, how did who? Anyways,
I know, and things get overlooked, and you can't edit your own work. They're probably making their own,
you
and they
cannot.
missed it. Yeah, you missed it. And again, that's why I love using ChatGPT to even cross-reference myself and cross-check myself. And I ask it, I'm like, what else would you suggest here? What are best practices in this scenario? What am I missing? What are my blind spots here? And I love how it answers me all the time. It always has an improvement of some sort or some sort of something different. Jean did ask a question, and she said, Anna and Camille, what's the greatest golden lesson learned in planning major retreats and solving sticky situations over the years? Jean, that's a great question. So, well, I want to clarify what major retreat is. Like Coachella, we're not talking about 20,000, 30,000 people.
No.
SoulTreat, we're talking 100 to 150. Um, and which is intimate enough the way that the groups are broken up and the way that there's so many practitioners. There's over 20, 30 practitioners, so the energy is broken up and there's always people to go to. 100 people come into a retreat with 3 people leading things. That's a little bit more where people are going to feel more isolated again, because not everybody can have time with a practitioner or an expert. So the way we develop it is we bring a lot of practitioners. So somebody always has somebody around that they feel like, oh, that's an expert or that's a safe space for me. And that's one of the beautiful things that we do. So for me, one of the golden things in planning major retreats and solving sticky situations over the year is, again, refining and defining to evaluate who's part of the experience. It's now more than someone just being like, oh my gosh, I do this and I'm a great Reiki practitioner and I've done this and this and this and I want to be part of your retreat. And then I evaluate them like it's a CV and it's black and white. No, like it's beyond, it's like next level and next level and next level. I've had people that I thought were amazing, and then they're like kind of going rogue and doing like side healings and stuff like that during the event. Like everybody has to be a team player and play by the rules. And I think that honestly, your core team, your core collaborators in creating the experience, they're building your brand with you, and they're giving the end result of what you are truly, truly called to do. And those people, that they're on the same page, that everyone is a cohesive whole, the oneness exists within you, to me is the most important thing, because you can do different workshops, different talks, different experiences because you're dealing with the qualified people that you trust. So no matter what, it's sort of like we're selling, different services all the time, but it's always coming from our core, our core component of what modality we practice, for example. But we're reinventing how we're marketing ourselves. You can create a different event all the time, but the people who are part of it, it's so, so important that they are on with you 100%. That's my golden takeaway. Camille, I don't know what you would have.
So this is an exceptional question. It's almost two questions. If I had to boil it down, though, like golden lesson in planning major retreats and solving sticky situations, life happens, things happen that you are not expecting. Breathe. Before you respond, breathe. Before you decide, breathe. Now, whether that's you only have time for one deep breath, or you have time to count to 10, and there are times when you can sleep on it before you need to make a decision, before you need to reply to that email, before you need to, it's, that's it, the golden let breathe. And how long can I breathe before I have to decide, respond, and do? And on that, okay, so Anna, I'm putting your link, your Wellness Universe link, in the chat. I want to make sure that anybody who is interested in participating can participate and get involved. Like I said, like we're all part of the same tribe. We're all working for the same cause, creating communities. Right. It's not one or the other. It's both and when you can. Because there's a world of people out there who are seeking, and it's how can we help them find you and holistic options. And if you want to drop anything in the chat right now, if not, we will be sending a follow-up email to all of you. We're also going to be creating an article, possibly multiple articles out of this. The recording will be in the members only recording portal, Global Event Replays. And I'm going to stop the recording now, but thank you so much, Anna. This was great.
My pleasure,
Great,
Camille.
great.